Hello girls, I hope you're staying safe at home. To continue with the excretory system, today we will start from the blood supply to the kidney tubules. Now you know oxygenated blood from the heart comes from the aorta. So in this case, the dorsal aorta breaks up into a pair of renal arteries. Why a pair? Because we have two kidneys. So each artery, renal artery, enters the kidney, left kidney and right kidney. Now each renal artery branches and rebranches many times to give rise to arteriole. So here you can see afferent arteriole, which enters the Bowman's capsule and breaks up into capillaries. Again it rejoins to form the efferent arteriole. Okay, please children keep this in mind. You can see the afferent arteriole which is entering the kidney. It is wider than the efferent arteriole, okay, which emerges out from the Bowman's capsule. Later on, when we learn how the urine is formed, that time you'll have to keep this in mind. Okay, so this afferent arteriole is bringing oxygenated blood into the Bowman's capsule, and efferent arteriole is leaving after giving oxygenated blood. It leaves the Bowman's capsule. Okay, so here this in the Bowman's capsule, when the capillaries are not like capillaries is formed, you know that it is known as the glomerulus, which is fitting very closely inside the Bowman's capsule. The reuniting capillaries, they reunite, okay, and form the efferent arteriole, and it comes out. The efferent arteriole, after coming out from the Bowman's capsule, it runs a short distance, here you can see, and breaks up into secondary, okay, and a capillary network which is known as vasa recta, which surrounds the renal tubule. There again runs, again it breaks up into cap. Okay, so and again they reunite, again it goes, runs, again it breaks up, okay, and finally it reunites to form a vein which goes towards the renal vein. You know the renal vein carries deoxygenated blood. Okay, so ultimately the renal vein, it leaves the kidney, okay, and pours the blood into the posterior vena cava. The function of the kidney is to produce urine. So this production of urine takes place in three major steps. First is ultrafiltration, reabsorption, and tubular secretion. Now ultrafiltration means filtration taking place at a great pressure. Okay, so when the blood flows through the glomerulus, it flows under very great pressure, which is much more greater than any capillaries in the body. Now the reason for this great pressure, I had already mentioned a while ago, that the outgoing arteriole, efferent arteriole, is narrower than the afferent arteriole. That is, the afferent arteriole is wider, so blood will flow in more. And the outgoing arteriole, that is efferent, is thinner, narrower, so blood will flow out very slowly. As a result, a great pressure will be developed where? In the glomerulus, because there you can see this is wider and this is narrower. So here ultrafiltration takes place. That is, the liquid part of blood filters out from the glomerulus into the renal tubule due to a very high pressure that is caused here, which is also known as hydrostatic pressure. Okay, so this filtration under extraordinary force is known as ultrafiltration. Now when ultrafiltration takes place, most of the liquid part of the blood, that is plasma with most of its organic and inorganic substances like urea, glucose, amino acids, which are usable, and of course urea must be thrown out from the body. So this comes out of the glomerulus and it passes into the funnel-shaped cavity of the Bowman's capsule. So the fluid which enters into this is the renal tubule, is known as the glomerular filtrate. Okay, so the glomerular filtrate, as I already told you, it is made up of water, has urea, salts, glucose, and other plasma solutes, means solutes which dissolve in the liquid part of blood. So the thicker part of the blood is left behind. in the glomerulus. So when we are talking about the thicker part of the blood, we are talking about the two types of blood cells, that is white blood cells and red blood cells. There are larger proteins and other larger molecules which move further through the efferent arteriole. So the blood flowing through the efferent arteriole is thick. Now, as it flows through the renal tubule, first it will pass through the proximal convoluted tubule, if you remember. Then you have the loop of Henle. Then you have the distal convoluted tubule. Okay, so the glomerular filtrate which enters the renal tubule in the beginning is not urine. Okay, it is a very, very dilute solution made up of many useful materials like glucose, some salts, amino acids. Okay, now as this filtrate passes down the tubule, much of the water is reabsorbed together with the useful substances. The excretory substances are left in the renal tubule because it has to go out from the body in the form of urine. But remember, the reabsorption that takes place here is only up to the extent that the normal concentration of the blood is not disturbed, and this is known as selective absorption. That is, it will select only the useful part which is required by the body, the useful substances which are required by the body, and it will not reabsorb like urea or uric acid, which must be thrown out. Okay, finally we come to tubular secretion. Okay, there are certain substances like potassium ion in the normal course and a large number of foreign chemicals, including sometimes when you take some antibiotics when you are sick, excess of these antibiotics are passed into the forming urine in the distal convoluted tubule. Okay, so what happens, it comes and mixes with the passing urine. So this passage involves the activity of cells of the tubular wall. So it is known as tubular secretion, that is, it is coming out from the renal tubule of the distal convoluted tubule. So this is known as tubular secretion, that is, these are unwanted, of course, it must be thrown out from the body. Okay, so it must be secreted out. So it comes through the tube. So that is why it is known as tubular secretion. So the filtrate which is left after reabsorption and tubular secretion is finally known as urine. Okay, so in this step shows you the different steps in urine formation. This is what you are going to copy for your assignment this week and draw the diagram to show the direction of the flow of glomerular filtrate. This diagram and this table for this week's assignment. Now all these steps which are involved in urine production requires energy, so the oxygen demand of the kidneys is 6 to 7 times higher than what is required by the muscles. Lots of oxygen is required because oxygen releases the energy from glucose in the cells. So more of oxygen is required in the kidney, even more than required by the muscles. Okay, now urine excretion, the last, that is the final urine, passes into the collecting ducts, okay, and to the pelvis, through the ureter into the urinary bladder first, and by ureteral peristalsis. Now peristalsis means waves of constriction of the ureters and due to gravity. So urine is thrown out from the urinary bladder through the urethra. Okay, and in males it is in the penis and directly by the females. And there is a relaxation of the sphincter muscles which is located at the opening of the urinary bladder into the urethra. So when this takes place, this process, when there is an impulse from the nervous system, that is when your urinary bladder is full, there is an impulse from the nervous system and you know that you need to go and empty your urinary bladder. So that time the sphincter muscle relaxes and then you urinate, or this process is known as micturition. So what are the physical properties of urine? The color, it is clear yellow, and this yellow color is due to a pigment which is known as urochrome, and the color varies with the diet that you taken. About 1 to 1.5 liters per day, but varies again. If you take more liquid diet, means more urine will be thrown out from the body. Okay, and the pH, whether it is acidic or it is alkaline, it is between 5 to 8. That is, it is usually slightly acidic, and protein diet makes it more acidic, while vegetable diet makes it alkaline. Again, this also depends on the type of food that you take. Okay, now on odor, you know the smell. Okay, it has a strong ammonia like smell, and this is due to bacterial activity. Otherwise, it has a faint smell, and specific gravity is 1.003 to 1.035. Now, what is urine made up of? Constituents of urine. The normal human urine consists of about 95% water, 5% of solid waste which is dissolved in it. Okay, the percentage of solid waste may vary slightly according to the food taken and according to the time after taking food, but usually these are approximately urea 2.3 grams per liter, 1.5, 0.7, 2.6, and sodium chloride is 9, potassium chloride 2.5, ammonia 0.6, and other dissolved solutes 2.5. Okay, now besides these normal constituents, urine may also have certain hormones and certain medicines like antibiotics, and excess of vitamins which is not required in the body is also thrown out along with urine. Now, abnormal constituents in urine. Now, sometimes blood cells will be found in the urine, and this is known as hematuria. In this condition, blood passes with the urine. Okay, and due to some infection in the urinary tract like kidney stones or even tumor, and sometimes more glucose is passed out. Okay, this is known as glycosuria. Excess glucose passes with urine due to diabetes mellitus. Okay, a person who is diabetic will pass out a lot of glucose in his urine. Okay, now when tasteless, that means no glucose is there. It is due to much water in the urine, a condition which is known as diabetes insipidus. Okay, this is due to insufficient ADH hormone. We'll be learning in the endocrine system. Okay, so insipid means tasteless. Now, next is if a person has high blood pressure or due to high increased permeability of the Bowman's capsule. Remember, in the Bowman's capsule, proteins do not go with the glomerular filtrate. So due to high blood pressure or due to increased permeability of Bowman's capsule membrane on account of bacterial infection, that is, there is bacterial infection on the membrane of the Bowman's capsule. So albumin proteins may be secreted out through the urine. And next is bile pigments. Due to anemia, less blood, hepatitis, jaundice, or liver cirrhosis, urine may contain bile pigments. Okay, so these are the abnormal constituents in the urine. It is not supposed to be there. So if it is there, it is a cause of worry. Now, regulation of urine output. The pituitary gland, which is the master endocrine gland, you find it in the brain. Okay, yeah, and diuresis. Diuresis means increased production of urine. If more urine is produced, then it is diuresis. So concentration of the urine by water reabsorption is controlled by ADH, that is antidiuretic hormone. Okay, you'll be learning more about it in the endocrine system, but still keep in mind it is secreted by the posterior lobe of the pituitary gland. We'll be doing that also. So if the antidiuretic hormone secretion is reduced, there is increased production of urine. Now, antidiuretic hormone means anti, going against diuresis. That is, diuresis means increased production of urine. So if ADH secretion is reduced, becomes less, antidiuretic hormone becomes less, what will happen? There is an increased production of urine, and this is known as diuresis. Substances that increase the formation of urine are known as diuretics, like liquid diets, tea, coffee, alcohol. Okay, so these are diuretics which causes more water to excrete or more urine to be produced. Okay, now you must have heard about gout, kidney stones. Okay, now you know uric acid, which is thrown out along with the urine, is less soluble in water and may crystallize out. Okay, and it will get deposited in the joints, causing gout, that is swollen joints, painful. That is when uric acid crystallizes out and it starts depositing in the joints. Now excessive uric acid, and there are certain salts like calcium oxalate, may turn into kidney stones, and this happens when the kidneys are not working. No. Now, the kidney, when it is removing wastes like urea from the blood, also regulates its composition. The composition is also maintained. Okay, that is when we talk about the regulation of composition, we're talking about the percentage of water and salts in the blood. So, this function of the kidney is known as osmoregulation. Osmoregulation actually means the regulation of osmotic pressure of the blood. Okay, so drinking enough water directly or through the food helps the kidney in their proper working. So you need to drink at least 8 glasses of water every day. Okay, and of course in tropical climates, in hot regions as in India, we drink a lot of water during summer. But if you have noticed, we urinate fewer times. Even if we drink lots of water in the summer, we will urinate fewer times, and the urine passed is generally thicker. Explain why. During the summer, we drink a lot of water than in winter, but the urine pass is thick. What is the reason? Because in summer, we lose a lot of water through perspiration, and the kidneys will have to reabsorb more water from the urine, making it more concentrated or thicker. Okay, now in cholera, that is when a person suffers from cholera, there is both vomiting and watery bowels, diarrhea. So as a result, in the intestine, what is happening? The water is not absorbed into the blood because of that, because water is being lost through vomit also, through diarrhea also. So the result is that his kidneys reabsorb almost all the water from the urine in the patient. So in the renal tubule, maximum of the water is reabsorbed. So in doing so, what will happen? Even the urea is reabsorbed back. So urea is poisonous. So as a result, what will happen? The patient may die due to poisoning by accumulation of high quantities of urea in his body, which is known as uremia. The immediate treatment is to replenish water in the body by glucose saline drip or by giving oral rehydration or ORS through the mouth. Lots of water must be given. Now, you all must have heard about people who are undergoing dialysis. That means their kidneys are not working. What is actually a dialysis machine? A dialysis machine is nothing but artificial kidney. Now, supposing if one kidney is damaged or removed for some reason, the other kidney alone is sufficient for excretory needs and a person can lead a normal life. But sometimes what may happen, both the kidneys will fail, okay, and it will lead to death. So dialysis is done. When we talk about dialysis, I told you artificial kidney is a dialysis machine. The patient's blood is led from the radial artery in his arm through the machine, where the urea and excess salts are removed in the machine outside the body, and the purified blood is returned to a vein in the same arm. So in case of permanent damage to the kidneys, dialysis is to be repeated for about 12 hours twice a week. Okay, so it must be repeated because the urea must be removed from the body, otherwise a person will die due to uremia. Okay, so with this we come to the end of this chapter, excretory system. So I have already told you your assignment for this week, so you'll be submitting day after tomorrow, that is on Wednesday. Okay, so till then children, stay safe. God bless you.